Well, good afternoon, everybody. Want to welcome you to today's Wednesday webinar here at TimeSolv, where we are going to get a look at the tips and tricks to get the most out of your TimeSolv account. This is Scott Clayson. I am the Director of Marketing here at TimeSolv. We will, let me wait about another minute or so, let people trickle in as always. So feel free to grab that last glass of water or lunch if you're eating lunch during the webinar, whatever the case may be. So I will come back and start yakking at you in about another minute or so. Thanks, everybody. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started here. I had a whole long thing I've been talking about, then I realized I was still muted. We'll go ahead and get going. This is, again, the Wednesday webinar here at TimeSolv. This is Scott Clayson. I'm the marketing director, and this is our opportunity to take a look at the various tip of the week topics that have been sent out to you in the last month. We generally cover 4 topics on our Wednesday webinars, and it allows us to see perhaps some things within TimeSolv that we were not aware of or we had learned at one point in time but may have forgotten. And it's also an opportunity to review some of the new features that have been released in TimeSolv within the last month, and be sure to show you those new items that you can access within your TimeSolv account. Generally, these webinars are going to take, this will take about 45 minutes, maybe, depending on how much I talk, how many questions we might have, and that sort of thing. Definitely will, I don't think I've ever done one of these webinars where it's gone over an hour. So we should be able to get through most things in about 45 minutes. Everybody is on mute here who have joined me. There is a both a question and answer and a chat panel that you should be seeing in the bottom part of your screen. Go ahead if you have any questions during the webinar, throw them in the question and answer, the Q&A icon that you should see, and I will answer them as they come up. I may not answer them immediately, but I will get to them. So I just want to make everyone aware of that. So without further ado, Let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to cover our traditional four topics, and it really truly is a blend of topics that I've covered previously and features that we have, as well as talk about some new things that have been introduced in the TimeSolve in the last month. So first, I want to review, and this might seem very rudimentary or elementary in using TimeSolve, but the power of billing rates and how you can change the billing rates based on your particular needs. Specifically, I'm going to explore kind of there's really three kind of billing rate stuff I'll explore. One is how you can leverage the task or activity codes that are built into TimeSolve when it comes to your rates. Two is talking about creating global rates that might be different from your default rates and how you can apply those. And then the third one is making sure that if you have changed your rates, you don't need to go back and manually update every single solitary unbilled time entry you might have. And that's kind of I think under the radar feature that we have is that you can do a bulk update of your unbilled time entries if the rates have changed in the time that since you created that entry to begin with. So we'll cover some billing rate stuff here at the beginning. And then there is um, a web Chrome extension tool that I know I showed this on a webinar, Wednesday webinar, maybe sometime back in the summer. It might have been June or July, but I want to show it again for those that weren't at that particular webinar. I know for many lawyers specifically, being able to dictate time entries is a valuable tool. And a lot of you know how to use your phone to do that and dictate to your phone when creating time entries. But there is a way to do that even within when you're on your PC using their speech to text. There's many speech to text Chrome extensions. We found one that seems to work particularly well with TimeSolve. So I will show you that once again. And then we're going to talk about two new integrations that were just rolled out in the last month. One just came out within the last week or so, and that is now our third document storage integration partner, and that's with OneDrive for those of you that are in the Office 365 environment. So I'll review how that behaves and what it looks like. And then we're also really excited about a new payments integration partner called LexCharge. And so we'll show you how that integration works and talk a little bit more about that. This gives some more options for those firms that really should be hopefully thinking about accepting either credit card or e-checks or ACH payments and leveraging that ability to charge your clients for your invoices on your terms and not necessarily wait for your clients to send you a check or give you their credit card information. So those are the three things we will cover today. So let's go ahead and get started and start talking about billing rates. So I'm sure most of you are all very familiar with the idea of where you can change your default billing rates for all your various timekeepers. That should be pretty, hopefully easy for you all to understand. Under your account and professionals, under each professional, when you click on their name, hopefully you all know that over here in the right-hand column is where you have the default billing rate for that particular timekeeper. I'm sure a lot of firms are thinking about, most firms probably increase their billing rate incrementally at the start of a new year. So here in January, as we're quickly approaching 2021, you might be raising this rate to say 290 an hour instead of 285. And this is of course the place where you can do that. You can optionally update any global or matter rates, which I'll explain just a little bit for this particular timekeeper, any particular timekeeper when you're in this area. I think global rates and matter rates are best left for editing. Over in the matter that you are working on, or in the area where you can update all your global rates. So I will get to that in just a second, but you could individually do that here. But I'm not going to review that here. So again, that's an obvious thing. That's where we have our default rates and how we update our default rates. So the big thing is understanding the different type of rate options in TimeSolv. So when we go under client and matters, when you create a new client or any client you currently have, when you are viewing information at the client level, like Aretha here, you do have the option to set the rate at the client level. So now any new matter, and that's an emphasis, any new matter you create will take on the attributes that you set here at the client level. You can also, of course, go to each individual matter and update the rate there as well. Now, by default, obviously, you're going to have your timekeeper's default rates set up here, but we do have these 6 other type of rate options. And I'll review the task one in just a second, because that's the one I think is really that's the one that really gives a lot of the flexibility within TimeSolv. But for a lot of firms, they might negotiate a specific matter rate. What that means is that you're going to set the rates only for this specific matter. So once I've chosen matter rate and I've hit saved, notice I get a button now here that says to edit rates. I open that up and I can, for all my professionals, change the rate for only this matter. So if you negotiate a special deal, a special price, whatever, this is where you could update what the rates are going to be for this matter only. So when you're doing time entries and you choose Aretha and estate plan, it would come up with the matter rate that you've edited instead of the default rate. So here's, for example, $285 is Scott Laidlaw's default rate, but for this one matter, I'm going to negotiate a discount and give them $250 rate. So now when I go over and do any other time entry for, let's just do a mere, plat filing, whatever. Here's my default rate, $285. But when I do Aretha estate plan, notice how the rate now changes to $250 because I have that special matter rate. So that's pretty cut and dried, pretty easy to understand about how you do specific matter rates. One of the other rate options that is really, I think, useful is the idea of creating global rates. What global rates are is an across the board rates for your timekeepers. It just is different from the defaults that you could apply wherever you want to apply. And this would come into play, for example, maybe you offer us just a set discount for types of, maybe it's nonprofits. I just use that as an example. So you've created a global rate that gives a 20% discount off of whatever the default rate is. Or maybe like right now, I'm going to give you the 2020 rates. Let's say I've created a global rate called 2020. In this case, I have a 2019 rate. You might be negotiating right now with a client. You say, hey, look, I know we're going to be doing a lot of work for you through the end of this year and through the beginning of 2021. I'm going to cut you a deal, and I'm only going to give you the rate for 2020. For even though we're going into 2021, I'm going to be raising my rates. So you could apply that global rate here. Here's a $5 adjustment. Maybe you have a rate for working overtime, whatever the case may be, you can apply that rate that you created. Now you can set up that global rate under time and settings. And there's a tab here called global rates. You can create as many global rates as you'd like. When I click on edit rates, you can see this is where I can set that global rate, and it shows you what the default rate is, which is always very convenient. So you could see like right here, here's my 2019 rates, and they are slightly lower than what they are right now. I had to create this 2019 rate, and I'd have to apply this to a particular matter as I need to, or a client. I also think it's nice, especially if you negotiate a unique rate for a client. Yeah, you could do a specific matter rate, but if you know you're going to be doing a lot of work for a particular client, in this case, let's say Best Buy. I'm here in Minneapolis, right? That's where Best Buy is headquartered. Let's say I'm doing a lot of work. I have 10, 15, 20 different matters that I might be working on or projects I might be working on for Best Buy, I don't want to have to go in every time I create a new matter and set up that matter rate that I have uniquely set for Best Buy. So I'm just going to have a Best Buy rate that is whatever I've negotiated down here. And you can then apply that at the client level or even at the matter level and just say, just give me the Best Buy rate. Okay, so there's a lot of different things you can do with the global rates. Let's talk about those other ones, that task code rate. You saw it was task, then timekeeper default, task, then global rate, task, then matter rate. Under our time and settings, under our task codes, and this might be called activity codes for you depending on your TimeSolv account, you have, I'm in my TimeSolv legal, so I have all the ABA task codes here set up, but you can create as many different task codes as you'd like. You can make them active or inactive as you'd like, but you can do a lot of different things with task codes. You can set up that anybody who enters task code, let's say B120, if you click on the B120 to edit, you could say, hey, anybody who enters this task code, we're going to bill at $150 an hour, if you'd like. Or you could just have a set rate for the task. Time is irregardless. You could say when somebody creates a time entry for B120, the flat rate, if you will, is $500. So you can make it a hourly rate or a task rate if you'd like. You can get even more granular in that you can come over here to where it says edit rates, and you could choose a specific matter, like Aretha Estate Plan 3, let's say, for a specific professional and what that rate is going to be. So you could have the same matter, same code, different timekeeper, and the rate's going to be different. So now if I set Aretha Estate Plan 3 to be a task rate, and I enter that time entry and I enter, the specific task here, it'll change the rates. You can do it on this end, but I think it's probably easier if you do go ahead and do it on the client and matter end. You can do it in the same place. I can come over here to Aretha and Estate Plan, and if I choose it to be task then timekeeper default, I can essentially do exactly what I was doing over there under the time settings and say, okay, now for Mike Hagman, now for B120, the rate's going to be 180, let's say. But for, Scott Laidlaw for B120, my rate is going to be, 275, let's say. You can set it up like that. This might be the easiest way to do it, I think. So now you can really, I know for a lot of non-legal firms, they might charge different rates for different types of projects. Like if it's a marketing agency, you might have one type of rate that you charge if you're doing website design versus another rate that you might charge if you're doing social media work or whatever the case may be. You could set up your task codes to reflect that and then apply it to the project that you're working on. And again, you can make it a flat rate, you can make it just by the task itself. So there's a lot of flexibility you can do here. And of course, the task then timekeeper default, then global rate, then matter rate means if you don't enter that specific task code when you're creating a time entry, it would go back to the timekeeper default. So it will, or it'll go back to the matter rate that you've created or the global rate and so on. The last thing I want to show with rates, and again, this one's a little bit under the radar, is what happens when you've updated your rates, but you still have unbilled time entries that you want to make sure are updated to that new rate. I've had conversations with people where they've literally gone back to every single time entry for a particular matter. Let's say they had to change the rate for, and they've hand updated that. You don't need to do that. I know this is absolutely the case for those type of firms who work on a lot of class action lawsuits, where they might have open time entries. They never actually have to bill, but they have open time entries that go for years because class action lawsuits can go for years. And oftentimes I know judges at the end will allow firms to submit time entries at their rate today in 2020, even though there was a time entry that was created back in 2018 when their rates were different. So how do you reconcile that? How do you update all of those rates or all those time entries to the current rate? You simply go under time and settings. You go to rate changes right here, this tab rate changes. You can choose the specific client and matter that you're working on. You can do all matters. You can choose a date range. In this case, I'm going to just do an open search. And this is going to show me all unbilled time entries, the date, the task code, how many hours the time entry is for, what the old rate was when I created the time entry, and what the new rate is now. You can go through it. You see here, I have a long list. Let's just narrow that down some. Let's say it's time entries just going back to the end of last year. So let's go back to December 31st of 2019. And it's still a pretty long list. The point is you can take a look at this list, you can pare it down by specific matters. If you do want to update these unbilled time entries, you can simply select them, or you can, of course, select all. And at the bottom of your screen, update rates in the selected time entry. So it'll update the rate from the old rate that you used to have to whatever the new rate is for these unbilled time entries. You can see I have some unbilled time entries from 2017, from 3.5 years ago, that I could update to today's rates all at once in batch. Really nice, easy, and convenient, I think. Any questions on our rates, what you can do with them, updating old time entries to a new rate and so on? Okay, excellent. Well, let's move on to our next topic. I had mentioned in a webinar, and like I said, back in maybe June, about the idea of using talk to text right within your web browser. Now, I hope that a lot of you who use our mobile app have leveraged mobile phones talk to text feature to create descriptions for your time entries by speaking them into your phone. Well, that's something I think a lot of people have gotten used to talking to their phones now, whether it's using Siri or Alexa or whatever, talking to your devices in your households. So let's talk about how you can use that same type of process to create a time entry by speaking the description. You first want to, if you, we use, we recommend Chrome as the kind of browser of choice. This is where we found this particular Chrome extension. There might be others using Firefox extensions or Safari extensions if you're on a Mac. But if you're on Chrome, you simply want to just do a search for the Chrome Web Store. And if you haven't leveraged the various extensions that Chrome has, I really highly recommend it. I have a ton that I use, as you can see. I have a really great one that does screenshots called Awesome Screenshot. Lots of things. I have it hooked up to my OneNote that I use. I mean, Evernote. I mean, there's just a ton that are out there. HubSpot, which is what we use to do our marketing stuff. My password generator, all of that kind of good stuff. But the one I want to show you is just called Voice by Voice to Voice. Sorry, Voice to Voice. Oh, wait a minute. Did I have the name wrong? Voice in Voice. Ah, my apologies. Geez, Scott. Voice in Voice. And you can see it's already added here. So you would just click on it, and then you would you have the ability to install that extension here in Chrome, and it'll appear up here. You can see that little microphone that has a slash through it because I'm not using it right now, but that's available for me. So how we use it in TimeSolv then is you could simply, you still need to find your client and matter. So let's say it is Aretha estate plan, and I know that it's 3.2 hours. Wherever I place my cursor, and you could even do it right here if you'd like, but wherever you place your cursor, once you activate and turn on your voice in voice extension, whatever you say will be entered where your cursor is located. So let me demonstrate that. Lunch meeting with client to discuss court strategy. And there you are. I forgot to turn it off there. You can see it's a pretty fast way then to create a fairly lengthy description if you'd like, and with some minimal editing. I think it's a really tremendous tool. In fact, one of our clients helped us find this TimeSolv user. And it's something they had asked about having a voice to text feature built in. And we realized, hey, there's already tools out there on our computers that we could use to achieve the same thing. So again, it's called voice in voice typing. Once you install it, you simply just click to turn it on. You can see it's red right there. You can see how it kind of has a ghost of showing you what is being written. And then as soon as you get done talking, it enters it on the screen here. And then you just turn it off. So there it is. Okay, questions on that? Okay, wonderful. Let's talk about some new features now within TimeSolv. We just rolled out, I think it was late last week, an update on another document storage solution that you can integrate with TimeSolv. And it's for those users who are leveraging the power of Office 365 to manage their documents. If you go under our documents and settings, we've always had our in-house document storage capability, and for a long period of time, we've had integrations with both Dropbox and NetDocuments. But we do know that a lot of firms are starting to use Office 365 to manage their office processes. And I'll be perfectly honest with you all, TimeSolv moved over ourselves to using Office 365 to manage our office workflow back in early September. And I am really impressed with everything that you can do in Office 365 to manage things and the variety of applications that you could use. If you don't have most you don't because you are using TimeSolv, a full practice management solution, Office 365 really can accomplish a lot of what those full practice management solutions have, other than the time and billing, the document storage and management. Being able to do secure document exchange with your clients can be achieved in Office 365 using SharePoint. And I know that there's consultants out there, some of them who work with us, who every time you create a new client, or start working with a new client, you can create a new SharePoint site in Office that becomes kind of the collaborative workspace with your client that is secure, and you can do all the document management. You can use Teams as a way to communicate with your client, have meetings with your clients, phone calls, chats, everything using Teams. There's a lot out there with the Office world that you can really leverage, and it's obviously a very affordable monthly product. Even they're just kind of base essentials is like, it's only like $12 per user per month, something really low. It's not terribly expensive. So anyway, that's my pitch for Office 365. If you do have Office 365 and you are using OneDrive specifically for your document management, you can hook it up to TimeSolv and access those OneDrive documents in TimeSolv, just like Dropbox and NetDocs. So you'll want to come over here and configure OneDrive, click on that. It will show you, and this is all information coming from Microsoft, that it doesn't support these various characters when you have the name of various folders for your clients and matters. In this case, I have a client who has the ampersand in the client name that I've created, and that is not supported. So I would need to update that. So that is important to note, that these characters are not supported in the names of your clients or folders, clients or matter folders that you have in TimeSolv. I'm going to go ahead and click Connect to OneDrive. Because I'm already logged into my Office 365 account, it doesn't even ask me for the login anymore, but it would open up a window, ask you to log into with your Office 365 credentials, and then you are away. And it is similar to NetDocs and Dropbox in that it's going to take your client and matter structure, client and matters, and create corresponding uh, folder tree structure in OneDrive by client folder, and then you'll have a matter folder in order to store all of your documents. Now it takes a couple of minutes here to before it builds that out into OneDrive. So I'm not going to go into OneDrive just yet, but just know that you can come over here to say consultant, go to your documents tab, and it says the four corresponding this map cannot be found. Those haven't been created in OneDrive yet because it's still, it's still being synced over into OneDrive. The sync hasn't fully occurred yet. In fact, let me go into OneDrive and see how close it is. The integration will go to whoever actually set up and logged in. It'll go to their My Files here, where you can then, once you have your files in OneDrive, if you're not familiar with it, you can go ahead and share folders with others in your firm. So they would have access to the same. So you would just go to share here, and then you can share them with whoever you'd want to at your firm. You would want to make sure that you allow editing if you want them to allow editing, and so on and so forth. So I can see what you're going to see is there will be a TimeSolv folder. Oh, it just got created. You just saw it pop up down here. A TimeSolv folder will be created. And within that, you will then see the name of every one of your clients. And within each one of your clients, you'll see a folder for each one of your matters or projects. And you can just drill on down there from there. Then if you create a new folder here on this end, let's say, so if you're going to create a new folder, I'm going to call this test folder for webinar. Hit create. There it is in my Amir consultant matter folder. So if I go back over here into TimeSolv, if I hit refresh, you can see now in my Amir consultant, there's that same folder. And now on I can do the opposite here, where I can, I'm gonna go ahead and open up this folder. I can, add new documents here, and they will be uploaded into OneDrive and vice versa, just like our other integrations. So doesn't matter whether you're in the OneDrive side or if you're in the TimeSolv side, you'll be able to access those documents. Okay. Questions on that beyond? Oh, I do have a question. Are we planning on an integration with Google Drive? Yes, we are planning on an integration, I believe, to start with Gmail, to allow you to do time entries from Gmail and from your Gmail calendar, similar to how you can do time entries from your Office from Outlook. We've had that integration that I've gone over in other webinars previously, where you can do time entries in Outlook using the Outlook add-on that we have, or you can do time entries right from it. You can have a calendar event in Outlook be turned into a time entry. So yes, you can do that. How is OneDrive different from SharePoint? That is a super good question. It can get a little confusing between SharePoint and OneDrive. OneDrive is purely a document repository, if you will. SharePoint is a fuller featured tool to allow you to communicate and house documents, creating groups and that sort of thing. I'm not the Office 365 expert, but I know you can do more with SharePoint. If I come in here and go to SharePoint area, you can have shared libraries and that sort of thing. This is TimeSolv right here, so I'm kind of peeling back the onion here of things. But I can go into these SharePoint sites, and they're like these micro websites, if you will. Here's the one I have for my marketing team. You can add news and notes. These show the activities of documents that I have. You can have conversations here. You can have task lists. You could have calendaring things here. So that's, there's a lot you can do with SharePoint, whereas the document part of it that is hosted in OneDrive is just one part of SharePoint. So here's all the documents I have in my shared library that I can also access just from OneDrive. I hope that makes sense. So here's like my shared library here. And I can get in and see those same documents. So again, there's a lot you can do here. And we do have some consultants. If there's anyone who's really interested in diving deeper into how the Office tools can be used to help manage your firm and more importantly, manage the information flowing back and forth between you and your clients, I'd be happy to put you in touch with some of them because there's a lot there. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about this new integration that we have built out with what is now our sister company called LexCharge. You may have seen, for those of you that follow the legal tech news, TimeSolv was acquired by a private equity group back in May, along with a practice management solution called Rocket Matter and their built-in payment processing tool called LexCharge. And so we have now built an integration to sit side by side with our existing integration that we have with LawPay. And those of you on here may very well have a LawPay account and you use the integration with LawPay to have your clients pay their invoices through our client portal. You may use the new feature we rolled out back in May that allows you to store credit card numbers of your clients in TimeSolv. I mean, technically they're being stored with LawPay, but you can now run payments through TimeSolv whenever you want to run payments through TimeSolv. So same thing with LexCharge. We have that same exact capability, but it's even more married together within TimeSolv. And I'm going to go to one of our a different account here where this is set up, different TimeSolv instance, if you will. If you go under Account and Integrations, before you would see the tab for QuickBooks, Xero, Accounting, Office 365, and so on, you'll now see a tab for LexCharge. And what it'll look like for you all right now is it'll look like this. Get started with LexCharge. Unlike LawPay, where to get going with LawPay, you need to actually go to lawpay.com and apply for a merchant account to run credit card transactions that will then, or ACH payments that will then be deposited into either your operating or trust account. With LexCharge, you can apply for your LexCharge merchant account right within TimeSolv without having to leave TimeSolv. So it takes about 5 minutes. You're going to need obviously some bank information and your tax information and so on. But this is then you will get approved to become have a LexCharge merchant account. So if you click on Let's Get Started, it just pops you up this window, which presents, it's essentially 8 steps to get going. You create a username and password for LexCharge and so on. So you would make that application right here within TimeSolv. Once that application is submitted, it'll bring you back to that same LexCharge tab, but now it'll show you LexCharge accounts that you are setting up. It will automatically link LexCharge to the operating and trust accounts that you have already set up in your payment settings. So again, under payment and settings, because you've already been recording payments for a long time, you have the ability, obviously, to create bank accounts. You can create as many different bank accounts as you want. Generally, you're only going to have 2 that you're going to use probably at any one time. LexCharge will automatically be linked to those 2 accounts. Now, it doesn't happen immediately, obviously, because there is about a 24 to 48 hour approval process in order to, before the underwriting has to happen and all of that stuff before they approve your account. And this happens on the LawPay side as well. But then you will see eventually the status is approved, and you can unlink it if you'd like from your accounts. You could switch from LawPay to LexCharge or from LexCharge back to LawPay. If I go under my edit payment profile here, it'll give me now the options of LexCharge or LawPay. The one thing about LexCharge that we really like, other than the fact that obviously it's our sister company now, is it's a flat pricing model. It is going to charge for credit cards 30 cents per transaction and 3% processing fee. Now, on the paper, it looks to be more than LawPay, which charges basically 2.95% and 20 cents per transaction. However, if your clients are paying you using any type of kind of specialty card or American Express, generally that adds on to the processing fee that for LawPay could get you up to like 3.4, 3.5, even 3.7% that you're paying that you're not in LexCharge. Additionally, LawPay does have a flat monthly fee of $20 per month you have to pay for the right of having a Times or a LawPay account. You don't have that payment in LexCharge. There is no monthly fee. So I won't get into the details of that, but it's worth taking a look at it like a statement if you do accept credit cards and LawPay to see if you might actually be saving money by moving over into LexCharge. Once you have LexCharge hooked up and set up, everything behaves exactly like our LawPay integration in that you can, for your clients and matters, and again, this doesn't matter if you're using either one of these payment processors, you can store their payment information, your client's payment information in TimeSolv. You click on payment settings, and you can see I already have a credit card that I have on file, if you will, for my Alpha Legal client. If for whatever reason you have multiple matters that need to be paid differently, you could go into each at the matter level and change the payment settings to a different credit card or different ACH payment method. That's probably pretty rare, but it could happen if you're doing corporate work and they want to have two different departments with two different payment methods. But here's the real super big key thing. If you have your client's payment information on file, you can run that payment when you want to run that payment. You don't need to rely on them giving you that information and you running it. You can essentially have your invoices be paid when you want to have your invoices be paid. Our recommendation is, especially in today's, COVID world where, cash flow is king, trying to achieve zero AR. We have zero account payable out there where every invoice is paid. You have zero AR. How do you accomplish that? Part of that can be during, I believe, the intake time when you're bringing on a new client. Part of that documenting that you're having them sign and so on would include a credit card authorization form where they provide their credit card number or their ACH information if you're going to have them pay via ACH or e-check. And then you also have a stipulation that you will charge for invoices sent after a certain period of time in which they could raise questions about the invoice. So maybe it's 5 days and you tell them up front, I'm going to charge your invoice. I'm going to charge you a payment for that invoice 5 days after an invoice is sent. So unless I hear from you in that 5 days, I'm going to assume everything's okay with your invoice and we're going to go ahead and charge it. And that's a pretty powerful thing to be able to say, I'm going to run payments when I want to run payments, not wait for somebody to mail me a check or give me their credit card number or even use the client portal that we have. So the way that works is if I have let's create some time entries for Alpha and just do a quick, if I could spell, we're going to do 2.5 hours. Appearance in court. Okay, so $625. Let's go ahead and create a draft. send it. Okay, so I've sent off that invoice, and I'm going to go to my sent invoice screen. You see I did this earlier today as well, but here's one that still needs to be paid. I'm going to click on the dollar amount here. Now, because of the test credit card environment that I have and that test credit card I have set up, I can't actually charge this full $625. I'm just going to say like $2, let's say. But notice this, when I clicked on payment, came into the payment screen, because I already have Alpha Legal's credit card on file, the payment method defaults to credit card on file. And I'm going to charge it for, if obviously if this is a real credit card, I would charge the full amount. In this case, I'm doing just $2. I hit save, and it shows me this payment was done via LexCharge, or it'd be via LawPay if you're using LawPay. The point is, this has now been run. The credit card has just now been run. And I have a payment for $2 that I can allocate to my invoices, or if we had the full amount, obviously we would allocate the full amount. And that invoice could then be marked as paid. You have 0 AR. You're controlling when you're getting paid. This is hugely impactful, I think. I mean, it really is a big deal if collections is a concern. Set it up ahead of time. Make it part of the agreement when you bring in new work. This is how you're going to pay me. You're going to provide a credit card or ACH information. I'm going to send you an invoice. If you do not dispute that invoice within 5 days, I'm going to charge that invoice. I'm going to run payment. Okay. Again, hugely powerful, I think. If you're interested in getting started with LexCharge or have more questions, you can talk to them directly. And by the way, let me quickly show you the LexCharge. They have a dashboard, a portal, if you will. I'm going to, right here, I'm under, again, integrations. Here's LexCharge, LexCharge portal. It's going to open up, and in their portal, you can see all the payments and things that have happened. In this case, there hasn't been much happening. This is just a new test account. I can create scheduled payment plans. You can create a new plan here. You can have a specific number of payments or a specific amount that you charge to make sure that that's being seen over in the TimeSolv end. So TimeSolv sees those payments. You go to the client in matter, you go to the matter. On the general page, get recurring payment reference code, enable the recurring payments, blah, blah, blah. You grab this reference code, you put it in the reference number field in LexCharge. So now when that automatic payment is made for the name of the client, it will roll over into TimeSolv as a payment, and you can then allocate it to an invoice. Okay, so there's a lot you can do here within the LexCharge dashboard. If you want more information on how to get started here, when you go to apply, this let's get started, there is an FAQ over here. Is there someone I can contact if I have more questions? Yeah, you can email them at info@lexcharge.com, and there's a 1-800 number that I'm going to put in the chat here. So let me just go. We have a landing page that we built for the two of us. First of all, so you could go to this page here. You could schedule a time to talk to somebody from LexCharge. I just put it in the chat. And if you'd like to talk to somebody, call somebody, you can call them right down here. And put that in the chat as well. Worth looking at, and we're very excited about this this integration, obviously, between TimeSolv and LexCharge. I think you'll find their customer service is top notch. You won't have to worry about calling into a phone bank of customer support people or like 100 people sitting in a room. You'll work with real people here in the U.S. Who will help you kind of navigate the trust accounting and the operating account stuff and make sure that everything's flowing properly. Okay. Questions at all about LexCharge? Okay. Well, that's all I have today. We have about 10 minutes left in the hour. I didn't see any questions that have come in. So I think we're in good shape. I do want to thank everybody for joining me today. If you have any questions, please don't forget to follow up. We can always answer them. Let me go to our last page here, support@timesolv.com. Yeah, that link that I mentioned, I did put it in the chat area here, so you should be able to see that. And I will send it in a follow-up email with the recording. I do always send out an email to watch the recording. I'll send out the Lex charge information as well. Okay. Oh, it looks like maybe I accidentally didn't get in there. Hang on a sec. I think I know why it's not in there. So my fault. Zoom had it set to send to only the panelists, and of course there's no other panelists. So now you should be able to see that. Is it in the chat now, everybody? I believe it should be. Yeah, okay. My apologies there. I will put it in the follow-up email too. So, okay, well that's all I have then, everybody. So have a great rest of your day, and I will follow up with an email so you can watch this webinar again, and you can get in charge with the Lex Charge people. So have a great day, a great rest of the week, great rest of the month, and we'll talk to you in December. Thank you very much, everybody.